Hey guys, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Nuns. Today we're studying Joshua chapter 9. Let's get started.
Okay, so this is weird, but Joshua chapter number 9 is probably one of my favorite chapters in the whole book of Joshua. And it oddly is one of my favorite chapters to read in like the history of ancient Israel. And here's why. Because the more I read this chapter, the more I identify with the fact that in this world, that the enemy is out to steal and kill and destroy. And the way the enemy works, he typically works not by like immediate frontal attacks. Like that has happened in Israel, right? So they were attacked by Sihon and Og and, king of Bashan. They were attacked in those ways. But what was the real like attack that got the Israelites? Here's what it was. It was deception. So the Gibeonites are a group of people who are just a few miles from where the Israelites are. And by the way, the Israelites are new to this land. Do they know it all? No. Do they know all these people? No. So they are right now kind of at the mercy of political figures they do not yet know and an opposition they have not really dealt with before. Because look, this generation of Israelites has come from parents who were formerly slaves. They're not politicians, they're slaves. They've come out of Egypt, then all the parents die, and the kids grow up in the wilderness. They're looking at a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud, but are they dealing with the political lies of the people of Canaan? No. And so the Gibeonites, because they're recognizing, and listen, there's a certain level of like devious genius to the Gibeonites. They recognize that they cannot defeat Israel's armies because Israel's army has always, on paper, been the underdog, and yet they've always won. So the Gibeonites go, well, there's no sense in even fighting them, right? They're going to win. So the way that they deal with them is with, and let me tell you, one of the most dangerous weapons in the enemy's quiver, okay? Flattery. So the enemy, the Gibeonites, come to them, and there's deception involved. They bring old bread and old wineskins and old clothes, and they're all tore up. But they come saying, hey, we've heard about you guys. We've heard about how strong you are. We've heard about how good you are. We've heard about how powerful your God is. We've heard about you, and we want to be like you. We want to be friends with you. Will you take these country boys and girls who then come out the wilderness, and now these high society Canaanites are coming to them and they go, you like us? So they're flattered. Here's another side. One theologian wrote it like this. He said, because the Israelites are coming off of big victories in Jericho and then Ai and others. Mm-hmm. They said, you ought to be as careful after a battle as you are before a battle. Because here's why. Before a battle, there's a certain I've got to rely on the Lord in order to get through this. But if you win that battle, pride may start to get in and you go, well, look how tough I am. I may not need to rely all the time. And that's where Joshua and the guys messed up. Never in this story do we hear about prayer, or seeking the Lord, or asking the high priest that carries on his shoulders the Urim and the Thummim, which are two stones that they would kind of roll or pick out of a bag to kind of tell them yes or no on things. So they never do any of that. But it's not like the Holy Spirit's not at work, because when you're reading the story, you recognize there's at least one guy, and he goes, well, how do we know you guys aren't here? Who do you think put that like red flag in your heart? Have you ever experienced a moment where you were about to do something and something didn't feel right about it?
Oh, yeah.
Like a red flag pops up, and you don't know what it is, you can't really put your finger on it, but a red flag pops up. What if that's the Holy Spirit? And what if the Holy Spirit, among somebody who's not even named in that group, said, hold on and let us think about this? And did they listen?
No.
Now, what'd you get out of this chapter?
Okay, so I really want to talk about how how the Israelites were tricked, and how they did the wrong thing after they were tricked. So basically, the Canaanites, I think, they came to the Israelites and they were saying that they were like from like super far away, I'm pretty sure, when reality is they weren't that far away. So that was one of their little tricks. And so they were also like, hey, let us make a treaty and stuff. And so the Canaanites' actual goal was not just to make a treaty. They did not like the Israelites or nothing, because they thought they thought they had no chance in beating them. So they just decided that, hey, we're gonna do it this way. And so basically, they tricked the Israelites, and that's not the Israelites' fault that they get tricked, because you can't really help it. But what the Israelites didn't do is they didn't see God, and they didn't do anything about it. So I think the Israelites were leading, and were walking a little bit more by sight than they should have been by faith.
Ooh.
Because
what evidence do you have of that?
The what's it called? The clothes, the wineskins, the shoes, because they said that they were from so far away, and that they had traveled so far, so all their stuff was like roughed up and stuff. But
it was candy to the eyes, helping them. They made a decision by sight instead of by faith, when we're supposed to be walking by faith and not by
sight.
Exactly. You got anything else?
Not really.
Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is why, when they found out, did they not attack? Now, I'm going to give Israel credit on this one, because if I had been tricked, I might have wanted revenge. But the Israelites held to their covenant. They held to their commitments. Why? Because the Gibeonites went into that saying, if we can get them to make an agreement with us, their God is a promise-keeping God. He promised to get them out of Egypt. He promised to get them out of the wilderness. He promised to get them into the promised land. He promised them the victory. He has kept all their promise. Their God is a promise-keeping God. And because their God is a promise-keeping God, then the people must be a promise-keeping people. And I'll just give them credit for this. When Joshua and the Israelites made that covenant, they lived up to the promise-keeping side of it. So they did not get into the agreement legitimately, but they kept to it faithfully. I'm going to tell you this. You and I, we're all going to make decisions in life. Some of them are going to be good. Some of them are going to be bad. The worst decisions we're going to make are going to be the ones where we hurry, when we don't seek the Lord, when we don't walk by faith, and when we're too prideful. The best decisions are the ones we're going to make in prayer, in study, in fasting, in listening, and in watching for and responding to the red flags the Holy Spirit puts in our heart about things. If we will do that, we will make much better decisions and follow the Lord and not get ourselves in these kind of binds. Why? Because we don't want to have agreement with the world, because we're not of this world. All right, that's what we got out of this chapter. We'll see you tomorrow in chapter number 10. Bye.
Bye.